Hey folks, welcome to Market Intraday Analysis by InTheMoneyStocks.com, your leaders in pure technical analysis, avoiding all that Wall Street hype. This intraday video for Monday, June 13th, 2011 is sponsored by Realtic. Alright guys, I want to get right into the mix. The markets again have slowly faded all day long. This seems to be a common theme. We've seen the markets bounce intraday over the last couple weeks. We've seen them start higher and slowly fade to the lower portion of the day, and that continues to be the case today. You can see it today. We had a nice little gap up, a 3-bar little move up into the 50 moving average, but ever since then the market has just gone sideways to lower. And again, you can partially blame this on the dollar. The dollar again, which opened a little bit lower today, which is why the market's opened a little higher, has slowly regained its ground and footing and move to the upside. And again, it's not necessarily back to the positive side, but it's off the lows, and that slow move to the upside is enough to push this market to the downside here, especially with the negativity out there. And I think that's part of the big thing here. As we look at the SPY on my Realtic chart, you can clearly see that it's not like it's a dramatic sell. It's just a slow fade, and there's just a lot of uncertainty. A lot of people that after 6 weeks of losing in this market are just not going to stay around. They're not going to step up and buy large positions. They're going to wait to see where this market heads. And right now, it looks like it's heading perfectly to a perfect double bottom from Friday's action. And again, you can see this double bottom, which is right around the 127.25 level. It's actually a master level on the 60-minute chart. Let me just show you this right now. We'll put this in. See this little bit of a pivot low right here? Before you go to this gap fill down here, if you take that line right there and draw it straight across, you can see that that's exactly the low from Friday, and that's exactly where we're heading. We're about 10 cents away from it right now on the SPY chart. So again, if you mix up the dollar inching slowly up throughout the course of the morning session here, and if you also mix in the fact that investors continue to be very, very wary in terms of holding and keeping or buying any stocks, that puts a recipe together for exactly what's happening on the markets right now. And the spiders look like they may get to double bottom here, folks. I do think you can scalp the double bottom. I'd say if you hit the 127.20 to 25 level here, you can be a buyer. So we'll watch this trade and see if it triggers while we're watching this right now. And it looks like it's going to trigger as we speak here. So you're just about down here to 127.23. Let's see that exact pivot low, 27.26 hit. And again, we can put that line directly at the lows right there, and you're right in that wheelhouse right now. So again, right here you do have double bottom support, guys. You can see if you take the low pivot from Friday, you hit that exactly right there. And again, we're right in that mix. So we'll come back to this in a little while, but let's go to the dollar chart and see exactly where this is going. See how the dollar has slowly faded to the upside? That's exactly why the markets have, again, faded to the downside. You can see the fade really started right here even, because this is where you made the low, and then you went sideways, and then slowly neutral to positive. And again, that's just continuing to push the markets down. The dollar is currently at the highs of the day. If you get through this 50 moving average, who's to say this dollar can't go back to the break-even point right here on the day, which would put us in the loss category. Now, many of you might say to me, well, you know, the dollar's still negative, so why are the markets just going slightly negative at this point? And by the way, the markets aren't down much. In fact, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is still flat to slightly higher on the day, up 2 points. NASDAQ is down 10 points now, and the S&P is down about 3. But the answer is this. If you factor in the dollar action slow move to the upside, even though it's still down on the day, and you factor in the negative sentiment from traders and investors out there, that's why you have a mix for a slightly lower market, even though the dollar is still slightly lower on the day. All right, it all makes sense when you think about it. All right, now, one thing I have to go over here is the call on the financials from mid last week. If you've been watching the intraday videos, if you've been watching the Rant and Rave blog, if you've been a member at In the Money Stocks in the Research Center, which, by the way, has a 7-day free trial available for all new users, you can try us out for 7 days, no obligation. If you cancel before the end of 7 days, you're not charged. That's simple, folks. And again, there's no catch whatsoever. It's a very simple free trial. But the key is, again, if you've been a member or if you've been watching our blog, you know I called the low out on the financials last week. Right around Wednesday, I came out and said, guys, I believe personally the financials have made a low, and they will now go up for the next at least multi-week period, if not more. Well, sure enough, the low was called right here. Again, if you go back to last Wednesday, right here, this little down day, that's where the call went out on the blog and on the Research Center. In addition, we picked up a couple long positions on the financials in the Research Center. If you're a premium member, you know about those trades. I'm not going to get into details on them, obviously, as that's for premium members. But sure enough, look at Goldman Sachs. 1, 2, 3 days up. And it's stalling a little as the market's going negative, but Goldman Sachs is still up 75 cents, even with the market flat to slightly lower now. So again, very important to recognize that. And again, that was a fantastic call. Definitely worthwhile here to make sure you're on top of these type of plays. Now, the interesting thing about this financials call, and by the way, take a look at Wells Fargo. I mean, Wells Fargo, the same thing. Here's your low pivot right down here that I said was going to be the pivot low for a multi-week period, and look at the market moving just up on the financials here. And now Friday, we have the Federal Reserve coming out that really says they're going to keep a key interest rate that the banks need to deal with at a lower level than what originally was thought. That was a positive move, and that caused a huge spike on Friday in the financials and tried to rescue the markets, but it didn't rescue the markets in total. And then over the weekend, Barron's comes out and says, hey, listen, financials are 25% undervalued. Well, guess what, guys? If you were in the research center, you got that call before Barron's, before the Fed comes out with their statement. Why? Because when we read price, pattern, and time on these things, and we can go to other stocks like Morgan Stanley also having a very nice move, 3-day move up here. But when you focus on the charts, price, pattern, and time, you will get the levels on the charts, and then ultimately the levels on the charts turn out to be predecessors to news. And again, it sounds so strange that you could know news before it happens. You don't know specifically what the news is, but if you find a level that's good enough, you will see that news comes out in that general vicinity, and the key is to buy it first. And that's exactly what we did. And again, congratulations to those of you that picked up various financials. It could have been Citigroup, it could have been anything. Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan. They've all done very, very well, even when the market's been tanking over the last 1 week session. So again, good call there. And again, I just wanted to cover that because I do think it's important to understand how this all works. Now, having said that, we are seeing the spiders right around the lows of the day. We'll talk and touch base with this in a little while. It looks like it just pierced the lower range of my buy level, which was 127.20. And again, we'll watch as we get towards the end of this video and see where that goes. All right, let's take a look here now. U.S. Steel. U.S. Steel is getting hit, and one thing I wanted to bring to you today is the U.S. Steel chart, because I think it's significant that the sell-off here is pushing the U.S. Steel all the way down here below the 2 gain days. See how you have 2 green candles here, and those are getting wiped out on the downside? That is significant and a bearish signal. I do not have a good level on the U.S. Steel as a long swing trade until you get to 40 bucks, which is not that far away. It's only about $1.75 away or so. But that, again, I would not touch this U.S. Steel until it gets there. But once it gets there, that should be a nice little level to go long, all right? So we'll continue to follow that. And again, let's take a look at a couple other charts here that I want to go over. ExxonMobil was strong early on. Take a look at Exxon. But as soon as the dollar started to get some strength, we saw oil decline, and look at Exxon as it continues to fall here. And these charts, again, Exxon is a key component of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, so is Chevron, which is getting hammered by $1.50. And again, this market continues to be under significant amounts of pressure. All right, look at that Chevron just continuing to be right around here. Let's find out if there's a scalping level here on Chevron. It looks like we've taken out some key levels on the charts. I'm just kind of going through the charts. The daily chart is actually coming up with some good support here, guys. You can look to swing trade Chevron long at a price of 97.50 to 97.75, and you should get a 1 or 2 day small bounce out of this right here. Look at this key pivot. I think between this line, these 2 lines I put on the charts and are very, very good levels. And again, you can see this pivot low right here starting at around 97.50-ish or so, all the way down maybe to about 97. But right in this area, if we draw an X through it, that is your swing trade buy range. And we're just about to kiss it right now on the charts as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. All right, let's take a look at a couple other key charts. Most of the technology stocks were positive this morning but have gone negative. Google's been negative all day, so I want to touch on that. But if you take a look at Google's chart here, guys, let's go to we'll go at the expanded daily chart. You can see we've actually pierced through this little bit of a micro level, and we obviously took that one after a bounce out. So now what we're doing is we're looking for the next level on Google. Next level on Google I do not have for a little ways down here. It looks like it's going to be right around this 490 level. And after 490, you'll have another minor level at 480, and then ultimately down to 470. And the best level of all would be down here, folks. If we ever got down here to about 450, then you'd probably have a very good opportunity at a swing trade. These are only interim levels that I mentioned before that, but these 2 lower levels, this one as well, would be significant support. And again, I'm going to be very careful on long swing trades. And again, we nailed the financials, the financial bottom call. That's great. There's a couple other long plays out there. Both of them, or most of them, doing pretty well today. One of them, which I can't touch on, it's a smaller mid cap. It's actually it's a mid cap play. That's up today beautifully. So again, if you want to get these calls, take the free trial in the research center and really get involved by understanding the methodology. We do a good job of really explaining and teaching, so you guys can use our methodology and go out and do it on any stock that you want to trade. You can find the levels, you can find the pivot points, you can find even the cycle dates if you take the webinar on any stock or any commodity or any currency out there. And again, there's a 7-day free trial, folks, to the Research Center and the Intraday Stock Chat, which I encourage you to just try it out. No harm in trying. If it's free, it's for me, right? All right, let's take a look at a couple other key stocks here. Apple Computer. By the way, Apple's a very interesting chart here for a couple reasons. One thing you can see clearly, it's the 200 moving average. It seems to be holding that. Even though the market has now turned negative on the day, the Apple chart is not down that much today because you have the 200 moving average. Would I swing trade the 200? Whew, that's a tough one in this environment. It's a very, very tough question. One thing that worries me is that you still have this pivot low right down here, which I'd probably be looking for, and I'd rather swing trade a touch of this pivot low more so than the 200, although it does look like the 200 is holding up on the charts right now. Taking a look at a couple other key runners in the market, Research in Motion. Research in Motion getting very, very close to a key level here on the downside. Be aware, folks, there is a trigger level on this on the buy side, but again, as you guys know, you have to sign into the Research Center or become a free trial member or sign up for the Research Center to get this buy price on Research in Motion. But it should be an excellent swing trade opportunity, folks. Excellent, excellent swing trade opportunity. All right, so again, we'll find out where that goes. But in any case, folks, let me just scan through, see if there's anything else I want to bring to your attention. Right now, the spiders which pierced that low level are now bouncing sizably and coming back up. We're getting back to about that 127.25 level here. And again, we'll check back in that in just a couple minutes here after I finish up this video. Let's take a look here. Dell Computer up 14 cents. So that's actually having a little bit of a positive day on Dell, D-E-L-L. Let's take a look at the intraday chart, see if there's anything of interest here. If we zoom in, it doesn't really looks like it's choppy action here. Nothing major. You don't have a signal here. The only thing I could see is possibly an in spirit of bullish pattern development on this chart. You can see how you have a little bit of a flag pattern here after the big move up and just choppy sideways action, which actually, if the market does get any firm footing, could be a blast off to the upside. So we'll watch that very closely as well. Let me just take a look here. Bank of America's flat on the day. Wells Fargo still having a good day. IBM was positive early on, but has come right back down. This is another Dow component. So the Dow has actually gone negative here. When I started this video, the Dow was up 2 points. The Dow is now down 28 points. So we were just talking about Chevron and Exxon having big moves down, and let me pop those charts back up. Take a look here, folks. You can see they're getting a little bit of a bounce, but just that flush right there was enough because they're key components of the Dow Jones Industrial Average to push that index into negative territory. And ExxonMobil as well, same thing. And of course, IBM is another major component. You can see that's pretty much at the lows of the day down here as well. So again, folks, bottom line is this. Yes, the market, has intraday bounces, it seems, that are small. We had a small gap up today, but the sellers are still too nervous in this market to really come out in full force and try to do anything. And I mean that, folks. It just does not seem to be in anyone's, vocabulary to have the buy signal out yet. And again, chances are you're going to need some bigger signal from institutions or the Federal Reserve to step up and buy this market right now. So again, it means that if you're going to play swing trades, which I'm all for, you have to have the levels. You have to know what you're doing. Otherwise, you should stay on the sidelines. And again, I have continued some levels out there that I've given to our research center guys. We have a couple long trades that are actually in the money right now, which are great. But obviously, we're protecting them with break-even stops and so forth. And that is exactly what you have to do. All right, guys. Spiders, again, we can go back to the spiders chart. You're just really bouncing around that same level here, folks. You can see you pierced it. You're coming back. The buy level, again, was anywhere between 127.20 and 25. We're actually at 127.24 now, so we're kind of right in that same range. You can see it flushed through a little bit. Now it's trying to gain strength and trying to push back up. We'll see if it gets back above there. But again, join the intraday stock chat. You want to find out. This should be a good little bounce level. And there we go, guys, in the money on the trade from 127.20 now to 27.28. And again, there it is. Great pop right here back above. And notice how I'm waiting for the pierce. Whenever you have a buy signal, and this is very important, this is a part of the methodology that we teach in the Research Center and in the intraday stock chat, is that when you have a little bit of a double bottom here, you never buy exactly at the double bottom because you have to know that institutions and black box trading programs will push it through the low to take out easy money stops. All right, they know that a lot of people have said to themselves, well, I'm going to put my stop right here because if it goes through there, it's probably going to break down. Well, obviously, they're going to take it there and push it through because that's how they're going to get all their shares to sell, and once the little guy's out, or once the amateur, the kind of ignorant trader's out, or the investor's out, that's when they bounce it back up. So it's kind of interesting there. So in any case, good little bounce here. Nothing crazy right now. It's basically holding steady. Watch it this afternoon. I wouldn't be surprised if we float back up a little bit more by the end of today, and we can track it, and I'll track it in tonight's video as well. All right, guys, take care. Have a great afternoon, great evening, and I'll talk to you soon. Take that free trial of the Research Center and the Intraday Stock Chat.